Hello, welcome to Book Talk. At Book Talk, we get to have authors come and tell us about their books. Every single minute, we've had an interesting guest come on our show and tell us something interesting. And today, it's no exception. And I don't know how many times in a day you take to think about your mouth. Now, our guest today, an author of a great book, is going to specifically focus on your mouth. And I won't take one more minute because I know we have so much to cover over such a little part of the body. And so let's welcome to the show Dr. Kami Hos. Welcome,
Thanks so,
Doctor.
thanks so much, Anthony. It's so good to be here with you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here to talk about my mouth. And it's saying, I mean, the title of your book says, If Your Mouth Could Talk. And
If your mouth could talk, what would it say, right?
yeah, what did he say? And
Yeah.
we are very eager to hear what it could say and what it is that you have to bring to our knowledge today that, or maybe remind us something that we may have heard and forgotten. But before we go into that, can we know who is Dr. Kami?
Yes, of course. So my name is Dr. Kami Haas, and I'm an orthodontist and dentofacial orthopedist. I know it's a mouthful. I specialize in oral, mouth, and teeth, and jaw, and facial growth and developmental irregularities, and dental problems, crowding. Those typical things that people associate with orthodontists. But I think orthodontic field is a lot bigger than just crooked teeth. We look at airway because your mouth, contrary to what most people think, it's not just this area of your teeth. Your maxilla, your upper jaw, all it goes all the way under your eyes. It's your cheekbones, it's the nasal bone areas or your upper jaw. So it impacts your airway, impacts the way you look. And then the lower jaw is, of course, the longest bone in your face. And the fact that it moves around and it pivots in every direction, you can then make facial expressions, you can talk. And as you said, our mouth is really, it has so many functionality, from airway and breathing and taste and swallowing and eating and kissing and everything. It's such a amazing and important part of our bodies. But unfortunately, because dentistry and medicine for over the last 2 centuries have been separate, they've been taught in different schools and have been practiced in different practices by different specialists. I think everybody, including physicians and dentists and the public, have forgotten that your mouth is part of your body, and whatever happens in your mouth impacts your body and vice versa.
Hmm. Yeah, it was quite interesting looking at your book and reading that your mouth affects every part of your life. And I was like, but it's only my mouth.
I know it's because you're right. I mean, this is why I wrote the book, because I think the assumption is that, oh, my mouth was the biggest deal. I get some crooked teeth, the orthodontist will fix it. I get some cavities, and the dentist will fix it, right? But that could not be further from the truth. And the facts are, as you probably know, unfortunately, we're a very, very unhealthy society. In U.S., about 9 out of 10 adults now have some degree of tooth or root decay. 70% of population have gum disease. And gum disease is not just your mouth. Gum disease has been shown over the last 20, 30 years that it's linked to almost every chronic disease. Because there are two reasons, by the way, why your mouth health impact your physical health. One is if you have bleeding gums, the bacteria, your mouth is filled with billions and billions of microbes, somewhere between 5 to 100 billions of microbes. And
Hmm.
so when you have bleeding gums or you have root, cavity, these bacteria can enter the bloodstream and they can travel anywhere in the body. So they can go to the heart, they go to the brain, they can go to lungs, they can go to your joints, they can go to an unborn baby in a pregnant woman and cause all sorts of health issues, pregnancy complications, heart cardiovascular problems. It increases risk of so many types of cancers and Alzheimer's, and it's really linked to almost every chronic disease. But that's really at the end of your life. Your mouth's health impacts literally every part of your mouth, your life, starting with conception, because it impacts fertility of women, impacts the sperm quality and quantity in men.
Hmm.
During pregnancy, the oral health of the mom impacts her own health. It can potentially, poor oral health, increase the risk of preeclampsia or gestational diabetes during pregnancy. Then for the fetus, it can impact the timing of birth. It can cause low birth weight or premature birth. And then as the baby develops, their mouth, because it impacts their airway, their speech, their confidence, it impacts every part of their life, their sleep, because if they can't breathe, they can't sleep well. As the kids go to school, do you know what the number one reason is that kids get bullied about? Is their
What?
teeth.
Ah.
Crooked teeth. If they have an underbite, people tease them or bully them for looking mean. If they have an overbite or an open bite, they tease them for being not intelligent, right? And their confidence. So if they're embarrassed about their teeth, they're not going to talk. So that's going to impact their education. If they have toothache, they can't sleep. In US, 51 million hours of sleep of school is missed every day due to dental problems. Because when you have a toothache, you can't sleep. If you have a toothache, you can't eat the nutritious food that you need for your healthy development of your mouth and your body. If you have a toothache, you can't sit in. If you had a toothache, Tony, would you be able to sit in class and listen to your teacher? I wouldn't either, right?
It's gonna be hard.
It's amazing, and as the kids get older, it impacts. Usually during teen years, yes, we do see signs of mental health and depression, anxiety emerge during teenage years, but those seeds usually have been planted much, much earlier. And so your oral health is a big part of that equation. And then as you get older and you enter the workforce, people with straight teeth are 45% more likely to get a job than somebody else with the exact same job qualifications. People with a nice smile, in an average, they make $250,000 more with the same job qualification as someone else. It obviously affects your dating life, right? If you have the number one thing that when they've done surveys and they ask people what makes the other person attractive to you, the number one thing is their smile, above body and skin and hair and eyes and all the other factors. And then, of course, as I said, as you get older, it impacts almost every chronic disease. And because of all these factors, it also impacts your life expectancy and your longevity. In fact, in 2018, there was a Harvard study that showed that these 5 things that we already know, which is eating healthy, exercising, not smoking, not drinking too much alcohol, and having a decent body weight, can add up to between 12 to 14 years to our life expectancy. But now we know that having a good microbial health of your mouth adds about 10 years to your life, and having a good airway, which is breathing, which is really obviously dependent on your oral development, can add up to 15 years to your life expectancy. So your oral health can actually impact your life expectancy more than all these other factors that we've always known about combined.
Whoa. Some of the points that you mentioned there, I've never sat down and thought about the way you've expressed them. And this is a reason why we need to pay much attention to what it is that is here just below our nose. And coming to think of it, the reason that we are speaking and we are hearing each other and is because we are using this part. The reason that is going to affect my tomorrow is the words that are going to come out of my mouth. And the more confident I am opening my mouth, the more confident I am going to face the other situations in my life. So I can well connect that my mouth is going to determine a lot of my life. And I agree with you. And thanks for reminding us that.
No, it's my pleasure. And really, it's not just the public, unfortunately, that have forgotten about this whole body-mouth connection, but really even our profession, even dentistry. I'm an orthodontist. My wife is a pediatric dentist. I'm on the board of UCLA. So we have a very large group dental practice with world-class pediatric dentists and orthodontists and general dentists and hygienists and other specialists. But I got to tell you, it's really frustrating to see that we as a profession also look at the mouth as a separate entity, because that's what we're taught, right? When we go to dental school, we're not trained about how your mouth impacts your body. But think about it. Your mouth and your trachea and your lower airway is just one tube, right? Your mouth and your esophagus and stomach and intestines is just one longer tube. So obviously, whatever happens at the entrance of that tube impacts everything else in that part, right? So not only your microbial health can, enter the bloodstream and travel to all sorts of body places, or the inflammation in a chronic inflammation in your mouth can cause chronic inflammation and systemic health issues. But the fact that these tubes are all contiguous that's what we've known for a long time, that, for example, if you have poor oral health, it increases the chance of getting, higher pneumonia and, respiratory infections or diseases. Or if you have a oral health issue, it can impact GI tract issues. And I see, like, for example, a lot of talk these days about the gut microbiome. And then it always, when I ask people, where do you think your gut microbiome comes from? It doesn't go through your belly button, right? It goes through your mouth. So literally all the bacteria in your gut, which now we're learning more and more that impacts everything from your mental health to, digestion to, or fighting, infections and helping your immune system. And every day we're finding more and more benefits from having a very diverse, healthy microbiome. But that's where your mouth, actually, every time you swallow, you're kind of sending millions of microbes down in your gut. So again, everything starts with your mouth. So the way I want your listeners and your viewers to think about your mouth is this. Let's just say you had a huge infection on your arm or infection on your leg. You would just not ignore it, because you could absolutely think that very quickly that infection could become very serious, right? You could potentially lose your leg, or you can have an organ failure, or you could die from even a major local infection, right? Because the bacteria, we understand that connection. But that same infection that we have in our mouth, which we call it cavities or gum disease, we don't make those connections. But we know all the time that people from gum disease, unfortunately, have very serious health issues. Sometimes they die. There's been many cases that, unfortunately, a local dental infection has quickly, reached and expanded into other body parts, to your lungs, to your brain, and people have died from a very simple cavity or a small amount of gum disease. So not only our oral health impacts our, the beautification of our mouth, and gives us the confidence and our smile, and it's really important, so we don't get a toothache and all of these things that are visual and it's everyday thing, but in the long term also can cause all sorts of chronic health issues. So we really need to take care of it. And the good news, I think it's time for some good news after all of these, potentially, like, people saying, oh my God, now I'm scared. What am I going to do? The good news is taking care of your mouth is fairly easy. All you have to do is go to your dentist twice a year. And the reason you do that is not to fill cavities, is to preventively, your dentist monitor your mouth to make sure that your microbiome in your mouth is balanced and you're doing the healthy things. And, if there is a problem, potentially they step in quickly and fix it before it becomes a problem. Because we all know this saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, but I don't think we really put a lot of emphasis in it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, you only go to the dentist 2 days out of the year. So how you take care of your mouth the other 363 days really matter. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that so we have two groups of people right now: people who ignore their mouth, and then the other group that's the exact opposite. They overzealously scrub and disinfect and sterilize their mouth with all sorts of terrible oral care products that really kill all the microbiome and make the teeth even unhealthier. They use alcohol. They use these mouthwashes that you can barely keep your mouth, that says kills 99% of germs, as if that's a good thing. Imagine if I told you, Tony, I figured out, why don't we just take 2 antibiotics every day to stay healthy? Well, we know that we can't do that, because our microbes in our body, it's not about those few bad microbes. It's about keeping a healthy balance. So our good microbes can keep us healthy. So if we do have bad viruses or bad bacteria entering our body, want to cause problems, they keep them in check. And so when you want to use oral care products, just like you've learned and I've learned and most people have learned, what about a little bit, at least, about food, what's a vegetable, what vitamins potentially broccoli have, what's a fruit, what's a dairy, what's beef, chicken, fish. Just, at least we know the basics about foods that we put in our bodies every day. But we don't know anything about the toothpaste or mouthwash that we put in our mouths twice a day. By the way, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that when you put your oral care products in your mouth, you don't just spit them out. These ingredients get absorbed through your soft tissues and your oral mucosa. Also, you swallow some of it just inadvertently, because it mixes with saliva and you're going to swallow it. The younger your kids are, if you have kids, and the younger they are, the more they're swallowing all these ingredients that you're forcing them to put in their mouth twice a day. So why don't we, first of all, make it fun so they actually want to use it. Secondly, make sure they're safe and effective. And this is really difficult to do, because I think if today's market, unfortunately, the things that are effective, they also have a lot of toxic, potentially toxic ingredients added to it, right? For example, fluoride is an effective ingredient. However, because the reason it's FDA regulated, I don't know if you know, but if you get any toothpaste that you have right now in your bathroom, if it's a toothpaste or mouthwash that has fluoride, you can see it has a FDA warning that says keep it away from children under age 6. And if you swallow it, call the nearest poison control center. And so that freaks a lot of my patients out when they read that. So yes, because too much of fluoride, like everything else, will be very toxic to the body potentially and can cause neurological problems. Too much fluoride over a long time, especially if you ingest it, it can cause dental fluorosis, which is discoloration of your enamel and abnormal formation of your enamel and all of that, which has become very, very common. But again, a little bit of it for very high risk people, especially if you're older and you have a soda habit, you get a ton of cavities. That's fine. Fluoride does work. It does strengthen teeth. But there's another ingredient that's my favorite. It's called nanohydroxyapatite. Now, hydroxyapatite is a calcium phosphate mineral, which 97% of your enamel and 70% of your dentin is made out of it. So that's becoming a very common ingredient. It's been used in Japan for 30 years, in Canada since 2015. US, we're finally starting to catch up with that. So that's a wonderful ingredient. But those are just two examples. Just like, again, you at least have taken some time, I've taken some time, most people have taken some time learning a little bit about how to read about the ingredients in a food, or what's organic food, what's the difference between that and, what's a grass-fed meat versus. I really encourage all of your viewers and listeners to really take some time and learn about your oral care products, all the ingredients and the stuff that you put in your mouth and your kid's mouth. And if you want a quick reference, obviously I'll have all of that in my book, but my book is one source. You can also get it other sources. I just felt like it was such an important topic that I spent about the 10% of the end of my book discussing these specific things.
And thank you very much for all that. We also want at this point to thank all the viewers and all those people who are going to view after we are through or listen to this podcast on the platforms that we upload it to. And at this point, let me mention one of our viewers who says, who is congratulating us for the good work that we are doing here. Very interesting. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate and we wish you all the best. And thank you. We would ask you to share this episode with all your friends. And let's keep this message going. And at this point, I have to ask Dr. Kami, maybe it's out of this, off the cut. From what age group do you target to read this book?
So in the book, the testimonial I got from the dean of UCLA literally says, if you have a mouth, this book is for you. So it is for everybody. However, I think I wrote it specifically for parents, because I think any adult would be useful, but if you're a parent especially, I think we all understand that fixing things is good, but preventing things is even better, right? So if you're a parent, you're going to even maximize your usage of the book, is because I'm going to this is a unique book, because when most parenting books is not about parents, it's about how to raise kids, how to put them to sleep, how to do this. This book is specifically for the parents themselves, and also how to raise kids that are healthier, happier, more successful. So if you're an adult or a parent that want to be healthier, want to be happier, and want to be more successful, and you want to raise healthier, happier, more successful kids, this book is for you.
Oh, thank you for that. The reason I use the word off the cut is that I was imagining, do you have a kid's version of this book? Now, that could be a future project.
So, Tony, it's so funny you said that. I have a 10-year-old son, and so he's obviously been involved. I started writing this book even before COVID, like 2018. So it took me a couple of years to write it, and then COVID hit, and then I had to go back and add a couple of paragraphs about COVID and kind of update it a little bit before it got published. So my son has been involved in the whole process of me writing the book. And guess what he wants to do? He wants to write a kid's version of my book for kids.
There we go.
Because he's read my whole book, so many times, that's one of his favorite things at night when we go to bed, when I read him a book or something. And most of the time he says, I want to read If Your Mouth Could Talk. So he knows about oral health, inside and out. I think just having an orthodontist dad and a pediatric dentist mom, that was unavoidable. But the book is just added even more importance to that. So so that's what he said. It's really interesting that you brought this up. He said that this information is great for parents, but I need to write it the way kids understand it. So he's really that planning to write a version of that that's more, child friendly, with cooler photos and drawings and kid language, so kids can understand it. So hopefully that's going to be in the pipeline very soon.
Yeah, thank you for answering to the positive to that question. And this is the reason I asked that. And but anyway, you cleared it even before I went to specifically tell you the reason I asked that. It's
Sure.
because I don't have some of my teeth. They got blacked out at a very young age when I was still in primary school. And
Yes.
it's good that you've brought this book for the parents to read in order that they can bring up their children in the right way and be careful about the mouth, which we have agreed up to this point that is a very important part of our body. And I keep imagining if I had someone who was going to guide me in to care about my mouth, I would not have lost the teeth that I lost at a very early age to cavity.
You're
Uh,
100% right.
Yeah, so it's good that you've done that. And I wish that many parents get to read this book. And this is the reason that we are doing that, spreading the word out there. And every listener out there, we ask you to share this video. We remind you again, please share this video with as many people as possible. So the parents have it. And now Kami's son, Dr. Kami's son, is going to bring out a kids version. And yay, we are waiting.
Love it. That's wonderful. Hey, Tony, thank you for sharing your own personal story. I think this is so powerful because I think many of us, by the way, now that you shared your story, let me kind of tell you about my own personal experience too. Growing up, I also had a ton of cavities. Luckily, I didn't lose any of my teeth to cavities, but I did lose 8 of my teeth, my first bicuspids and my wisdom teeth, to braces. So I had a ton of cavities when I was growing up. Also, my mouth was so small that I didn't have enough room for my teeth. So but when I was like, I don't remember, 10 or 12 or probably 12, 13, when I look back, my orthodontist, when I was a kid, took out 4 of my bicuspid, to align the rest of the teeth. And then when I went to my orthodontic residency, my teeth had moved again. So they took out 4 of my wisdom teeth. So I had another set of braces for another 2 years. So with this mess of a mouth, my son, who's 10, has 0 cavities, and his mouth and the space for his teeth and his bite are as ideal as they can be. So because my parents, they don't know much about oral health, but his parents, which is me and my wife, know a lot about oral health. So, and this is not by accident that he doesn't have any cavities and he has a wonderful oral health. Yeah. Even though I had terrible teeth. So this is not genetic. I want to emphasize, I wrote about this in my book. Only 10% of dental problems are genetic, which means 90% of your oral health issues have to do with oral health and your diet and the environment and many things that I talk about. Literally starts in the, with a healthy pregnancy and then breastfeeding and all sorts of things, that getting the right nutrients to the right, because your mouth and your teeth and your gums and your bones are just cells, right? They need nutrients, specific nutrients to grow. They need calcium, they need vitamin D3, they need vitamin K2, they need vitamin A. So there's all these things that, I discussed. So we made sure that my son, was raised with all those healthy habits. He's just a kid, by the way, so he has a sweet tooth like every kid. It's nothing unusual, but we just took those few small steps to make sure he has a healthy mouth, and he's got a beautiful, incredibly healthy mouth, knock on wood, and hopefully that's going to go on for generations. So, to you and to parents like me and you that we've had our own share of oral health issues, this is the best thing that you could do for yourself, but it's the best gift that you can give to your kids and your grandkids by learning the things in the book and actually applying your knowledge once you've learned it.
What a lucky kid.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. That's very sweet of you to say.
To have some caring parents that taking care of this important part. Something that you haven't talked, even though you mentioned about that briefly. I came across a new word that I've never come across, and this word is axelodontics. Axelodontics. Tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So the book is one thing that I've done, but we, which is the education piece, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, as a doctor, as a scientist, as an artist, I kind of like to just, this is my passion, as you can probably tell, oral health. And this is That's why I wake up at 5 in the morning, still 4:30 in the morning. I get to work. A lot of people say, Kami, I don't understand. Where do you get the energy to work? Is because I found my passion. When you have your passion, it's not work for me. Like, I really enjoy it and I love it. So along those, I feel like I can contribute more than just education piece on the book side. So how do I contribute? So on the actual practical clinical side, we have, as I said, a very large group practice with world-class pediatric dentists, orthodontists, general dentists, hygienists. So from the dental side, we're doing that. As an orthodontist, one of the biggest complaints I hear from parents is like, oh my God, braces take forever. So Acceleodontics is really a combined word between acceleration and orthodontics. So Acceleodontics is a 5-step procedure process that we developed several years ago to cut down the treatment time significantly. Also make the appointments fewer visits, because that's another thing that I know people are busy. We have more single parent families. We have people working longer and longer hours than ever. We just don't have enough time. So if I can save people time from the total time, and also the clinical visit time, sitting in the chair, sitting in the car, you have to get time off from your work and get in the car and go to work, do the dental. So all of those Acceleodontics is really a very, very high-tech, modern way of aligning your teeth and getting your teeth nice and straight and having a beautiful smile, but in a much, much shorter amount of time. So that's what that is. We're also on the oral care side of it, or the oral care product side of it. We're launching, because again, you only go to the dentist a few times a year. What you do the other 363 days or 360 days matters a lot. So we, knowing that oral care products are a mess right now in this country and around the world, we spent, I've been doing this for about 25 years. So we spent the last several years focusing, researching, developing, and really we scavenged. We went through the whole world and found the best, safest, and the most effective ingredients to put together to make sure that we're launching an oral care product company that's going to be taking care of all the people based on their age and based on their risk factors. So a pregnant woman, what do they need to use on a daily basis? What about a baby? Does a 1-year-old need the same oral care products and an 8-year-old? Probably not. Does an 8-year-old who never gets a cavity needs the same toothpaste than a 16-year-old that has a ton of cavities and has a daily soda habit? Probably not. But there's no one right now that teaches, or parents on their own. They have to figure out, what is a toothpaste. Should I use a fluoride or not? I don't know. Nobody knows. Dentists are not. We're not educated in the dental school about what's in a toothpaste or mouthwash. So there's a whole vacuum, and I feel like that's another area that I can contribute to our society and to help people, is to provide the educational tools, but the right ingredients that they don't have to, spend hours and days and weeks and months and years trying to figure out on their own. We've done the work for you. They're all going to be available for you and your children.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kami.
Thank you.
It's been such a beautiful time here, and thank you for everything you've shared.
Likewise.
Which we can always find in your book. So to everyone who's listening or watching us, we remind you, please go and read this book. But where can we get it, Dr. Kami?
So your favorite bookstore, of course, like wherever it is, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore in all the English-speaking countries like US and Canada and UK and Australia, or Amazon or any online source. Or you can go to themouthbook.com, and then we have all the little sources like, so you can click on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and find, but really from your favorite bookstore. It's available in hard copy, it's available in audiobook, it's available in ebook. So there's no excuses why you can't read it and you can't access the information.
Wonderful. So everyone go to www.themouthbook.com and get the book.
Thank you.
And also get to connect with Dr. Kami. I believe is going to be a great connection for your mouth, something that affects the whole of your life. Don't take chances in this. Go get the book and also connect with Dr. Kami. If you're in the US, find out where he practices and get his attention. So once again, we thank you, Dr. Kami, for taking your time. And we are almost coming to the end of this show. But before we go, we always ask our guest, who is the author before us here, Dr. Kami, to leave us with a few words that we will always remember? This is your time.
So a kind of a walk away information. So I want everybody to rethink, because we're coming out of a pandemic, right? So I think as a society, as a species around the world, we're focused on this virus is terrible, we want to get rid of it. So I think this mentality unfortunately has expanded into, hey, all microbes are bad. And I think we want to, because we've seen the devastation it's caused to our society, to our economy, to people who have been killed, and health issues. So but I want you to remember that not all microbes are bad. In fact, we could not live without microbes. Our microbiome in our mouth and our body and our skin is part of our survival, and they're our allies. We just need to keep them balanced. So a self-sustaining, healthy oral microbiome is really what the healthy state of your mouth and your body is. And so I just want to make sure that as we're coming out of this pandemic, we're just going to go back to some normalcy and take care of our bodies and take care of our mouths and take care of our oral microbiome, because in return, it's going to take care of all of our mouths and all of our bodies, of our own bodies and our children's as well.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. We appreciate.
Thank you.
So once again, it's been an honor having you on our show, Dr. Kami. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You will like the fact that you considered us sharing or hearing about this wonderful book.
Thanks so much for having me.
And to the viewers, we also thank you for taking your time and watching this. Remember to share it. Those who get to listen to it after we are through, we also appreciate you. And we ask you to go get the book. Go to The Mouth Book. What did we say? Let's check it again. themouthbook.com. Yes, go to themouthbook.com and get that book. And that's it for now, for today. And I've been your host, Anthony Muirore. And together with Dr. Kami, we are saying bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.